That's right, you're watching Insights from Africa with me, Bronwyn Seaborn, and we continue now with our discussion on the link between education and economic prosperity, and take a look at a new report entitled The First 100 Paychecks. It's an investigation into South Africa's new professionals, and joining me for that is Zandile Makoba, Lead Research and Insights Specialist at Liberty. Zandile, thanks for joining us. So if we start here, only 12% of learners who start grade 1 eventually get some form of university degree, and on top of that, only 4% actually finish their degree and graduate. So why do so many students just not complete their degrees?
Well, it is a number of factors that are contributing to this. One of the primary ones really being affordability. The cost of education in South Africa is not something that everybody can afford. And even if you are in the public system, which is very much supported by government, there's still a lot of challenges in terms of additional costs that parents are having to face. Outside of that, though, we are seeing that the education system itself has its own challenges, and we as a country are not getting as much as we'd like to get out of the investment that we make in education. So we do see a lot of drop-offs over the years. And then some factors are very much household and personal. Children having to drop out so that the family can afford food, or having to go and work at a younger age than staying in education.
For students that do manage to face those challenges and stick the course, so to speak, is it worth it for them? Do they see this translate into gains once they enter the workforce?
And that's a very important question, because we are just seeing that in this age of AI and technology, a lot of people are starting to question the value of education. But one of the questions that participants of the study were asked is whether or not they felt that their education was a worthwhile investment. And a good 80% of those who responded said definitely it was worth it. But we can't just go on opinion. The numbers also speak to that. So if we look at graduate unemployment in South Africa today, it sits at around 12% versus the national average, which is around 30 to 40%. So we are still seeing that education, and tertiary education in particular, is still one of the best bets for getting ahead in our context.
It does not guarantee, but it certainly helps with employment, having a university degree. Does it also help with earning potential, Zandile?
It does. So we see that just within the knowledge economy that we're in, the likelihood of getting employed without an education has become that much more difficult. But it also amplifies the earnings in the sense that we do still have a high scarcity of skills within the South African landscape. And those who do provide specialized skills from tertiary institutions do get a little bit more earnings than what would ordinarily be if the overall population was well educated. The other positive side here is that when employment is not doing what it needs to, the most successful entrepreneurs are actually those that are educated in our society. And we see that over 70% of self-employed people have actually gone through the tertiary education system. So on both ends, it creates much better odds for the student.
Is it fair to say then that that grouping of graduates post their 100th check become quite a significant driving group in our economy?
Oh, absolutely. So we looked at just the spending power of this cohort, and it's sitting at around 1 trillion rand, which is around 14% of our national GDP. So definitely a lot of the earnings goes towards the graduates, and in fact it then gets reinvested just in terms of how they spend, whether it be on themselves or on their loved ones.
How are they spending, Zandile? I know the research had a look into that. Are they quite responsible in how they spend? Where are they putting their money to work?
It's always interesting to unpack how younger people spend their money. And what was maybe surprising for many is that there's an increased responsibility just in terms of how our graduates are spending their money. They're taking up less credit than previous generations. They're more diligent in terms of paying that credit. And the spending is very much about empowering themselves for future earnings. So they might take on an online course or invest in their professional image. It's not about splurging and looking like, you're the richest guy on the road. It's really around mapping a future for themselves and being very strategic about what they spend their money on and what they take credit for.
Sandile, thanks so much for your time today. Let's leave it there. Sandile Makoba is Lead Research and Insights Specialist at Liberty. And speaking to how graduates can become drivers of economic growth, Aisha Pandor stands as an example. She's an award-winning scientist with a PhD in human genetics, a business management graduate and the co-founder of Sweep South, South Africa's first on-demand cleaning app, which connects busy people to trusted background-checked cleaning professionals. And all this while she's still in her 30s. I caught up with her earlier to discuss whether her formal education helped her in her entrepreneurial journey. And we also got into her views on the importance of education and skills development. Let's take a look.
So I mean, I'm a huge advocate for education. I grew up in a household of two teachers, and I believe education isn't just about the content that you study. It's about the things around that as well. So the ability to understand what you're learning, to think critically, to think outside of the box, to problem solve. And so although my doctorate, which was in genetics, and my entrepreneurship journey, which has been with Sweep South around building a home services marketplace. And then I've, obviously also been an investor, VC investor, and built in digital health. Although those things aren't necessarily directly linked to what I build, some of the skills that I learned have been critical in understanding a market, in being able to frame a problem, being able to communicate that problem to investors, stakeholders, customers, and then to continue to innovate on an ongoing basis. So I think it's absolutely I see education as the infrastructure layer to being able to do all of these things on top of it.
What's so interesting as well is that Sweep South largely creates employment opportunities for people who perhaps wouldn't have that much formal education yet. It gives them the opportunity to provide for education opportunities for future generations. Do you feel that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think that there are two factors to this. The one is, of course, that the women who access work, and it is primarily women who access work through Sweep South, are women who often had not been working, in many cases, for years prior to joining the platform. And so this does provide the opportunity to take care of your family, to ensure that children are not just going to school, but are also well fed, well clothed. And so all of the conditions that are necessary for good learning are also there. But an important factor is also that the women who work on the platform are also getting access to financial literacy, digital literacy, financial inclusion. So while it is about the next generation, it is also about these women who in many cases have many potential productive years ahead of them.
It's speaking about the now, really, as you point out there, and the financial literacy and things that can come with being involved on the Sweep South platform. I know that you offer courses as well, and so education also becoming a key or a imperative, perhaps, for Sweep South as well.
Yeah, we find that firstly, sweep stars who are better educated perform better on the platform. But also we understand that this platform is a way of earning an income, taking care of your family, but it's also a way of entering the formal labor economy. And so we know that once you're in the labor economy, there's a higher chance that you're going to be able to upskill yourself, to come across opportunities for further work, for higher paid work. And so that's a crucial part of what we do. And we work with partners, various partners, to provide courses, whether it's on more sort of formal things like, using digital tools, financial literacy, or even softer skills like being able to sell yourself, and act as an entrepreneur when you're advertising your services and trying to, pitch to customers, or maybe upsell to customers on the platform. So there are a range of skills, both soft and what we call hard skills.
We so often speak about this at a very high level. You know, we speak you as a graduate who's become an entrepreneur, who's creating these job opportunities for people that then can become economic contributors in a way. But let's bring it down to a very human element now. Can you give us that human interest story about someone perhaps who made use of the Sweep South platform, made use of the opportunities, and as a result has really changed their life?
Yeah, so I mean, there are a few stories, and some relate to people who've gone on to become entrepreneurs, others to sweep stars who have studied through the platform and then gone on to start careers in different industries. So a story that I love is a sweep star who was on the platform for a few years and worked diligently, and continued to be rated highly on the platform, to earn well. And then after a few years, sort of, had less and less bookings over time. And we said, what's happening? Are you okay? And she said, I've been learning to do care work in the evenings while I've been working, and the weekends while I've been working through the platform. And so she ended up being a carer. And again, one, this was a dream to be able to take care of people who are sick and the elderly. And the second is that this is, again, higher earning, higher skilled work. Fortunately, now with Sweep South, we offer care work through the platform, so she didn't have to leave the platform, but it was a great example of someone who's upskilled themselves. And then we also have a foundation with Sweep South where we sponsor specific projects. And one of the projects we're really proud of is a sweep star named Senzo, who really wanted to start a baking business. And so he took some courses while he was studying with the platform, and learned about entrepreneurship and business building. And then through our foundation, we actually sponsored him to set up his first bakery, and he's doing very well.
Well, that reminds me of the words of former President Nelson Mandela. Education is the great engine of personal development. It is through education that the daughter of a peasant can become a doctor, and the child of farm workers can become the president of a great nation. And on that note, we leave it there for this episode of Insights from Africa. But if you want more content like this, or if you'd like to rewatch any of our shows, be sure to find the Business Day TV YouTube channel. And under the Insights from Africa tab is all our previous episodes. And if you follow us on all major social media channels such as LinkedIn, X, and TikTok, you'll get a sneak peek into what's coming up. But for now, from me, Bronwyn Seaborn, and the rest of the team, it's goodbye. Insights from Africa is brought to you in partnership with Standard Bank.